Hello, lovelies, and welcome back to another episode of the Simple Knit podcast. I almost forgot what my podcast was called then for a second. I don't know what I was going to say, but it is the Simple Knit podcast. My name is Eleanor. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Simple Knit Co, and here on YouTube, where I share with you everything that I am knitting at the moment. And it is a pleasure to spend this very windy Sunday morning with you here in Brisbane, Australia. Chit-chatting about some knitting because I have quite a few projects to share with you today, which is very exciting. But before I get started, I just wanted to acknowledge, place, signpost that this is my 50th episode, I believe, if I can count, which is questionable. Most of my colleagues will tell you, but I can't believe that I've sat down 50 times in my house and talked to my phone about what I'm making, and that you lovely people watch it and leave comments and are so kind and supportive. So yeah, thank you so much. If you've been here for 50 episodes, I am so grateful that you choose to spend your time with me. There are so many knitting podcasts out there. There are so many people who take this so much more seriously than I do. So the fact that you choose to be here is very, very touching to me. So hate to be sincere or have a real human emotion, but I do really, really genuinely appreciate the time that you guys spend with me. And there are people who are much more professional who take this all much more seriously than I do, but and the fact that kind of probably because I don't promote anything very well at all, you all have kind of found me probably in quite an organic process. I find that really, really beautiful too. So thank you so much. And if this is your first time checking out the podcast, I appreciate you just as much, because you could be doing anything else right now, but you're here with me, and that is very, very lovely. And it wouldn't be a milestone podcast without a shout out to the amazing Jillian of Good Witch Knits, without whom I can almost guarantee I would not have started this podcast. So Jill, I know you're watching, I know you're lurking, so thank you so much for your friendship and for inspiring me to start this podcast. I really appreciate you. So enough emotion, let's talk about knitting. So before I get started on that, I do want to talk about what I'm wearing today, because I can already feel myself getting distracted by the screen, because I have these amazing earrings that I just got yesterday at the Finders Keepers markets here in Brisbane. They're from an amazing local earring maker called Busy Head. I'll link her shop below. I have quite a few of her pieces already. I love her earrings, but this is from a collection she does. She calls them offcuts. So she uses the leftover product from her regular earring line to make these earrings so that she can be zero waste, which is incredible. So I love this bright orange color. It's very distracting, which I love. And yeah, should check her out down below. Love her earrings. And also underneath my finished object, which I will talk about momentarily, I am wearing my Flying Home tank top that I made earlier this year. You can click back a couple of episodes if you would like to hear more about that. But yeah, we're double knitwear today, which is very on brand. So yeah, let's just get into it, because I'm very excited about my finished object today. It is my Escala Cardigan, which is a pattern by Alice Caetano. It was originally published in Amirisu magazine, and it is, I believe, now available for individual purchase, because it was a number of years ago now, but I love it. So go through the specs and then we'll talk about how excited I am about it. So I knit this in Bendigo Woolen Mills Luxury 10 ply in the Koala colorway. I used a little bit over 4 skeins of the 200 gram balls. I think I got about halfway through the neckband section before I got into my 5th ball. So I'm very glad it wasn't like just the bind off. I would have been really annoyed if I only had to crack into the last ball for a tiny bit, but that is kind of the we love that Bendigo comes in massive 200 gram skeins, but it is a bit annoying when you're like for like you like just need a little bit of the 5th ball, because then you have a lot of leftovers. But this is a really great neutral color in a nice 10 ply weight, so I'll definitely be able to use it for something like if we're making a hat or some slippers, or yeah, I'll use it. But yes, I knit the size, I knit the, sorry, I just saw a very badly woven in end. I knit the 4th size of the pattern, and I knit it on the recommended needle size. So a 5mm and a 5.5mm needle. You start on the bigger one and then go down to the smaller one as you work in. And I'm pretty sure I got pretty close to gauge. I haven't checked. This is only half blocked. I've blocked the main body section before I seamed it, but I have not blocked the ribbing because I did want to, I'm just in love with this. I think it's so gorgeous, and I wanted to get some wear out of it in the last couple of cold weeks that we have. Although it is like this weekend, it is the first weekend of spring, and it is, I mean, freezing is an exaggeration, but like it's cold. And I'm very annoyed because I have some weddings to go to, and I was hoping spring would have fully hit because of my outfit choices. And if it's cold, I'm going to be real mad. But that's future Eleanor's problem. I love this cardigan. It is so beautiful. So you it's knit flat, so you start at the sleeve and you knit into the center, and then you do the other half, then you graft them together. I'll just show you down the back. You graft them together with a 3 needle bind off, which creates a really lovely seam down the back here. I was a bit worried that it was going to be a little bit too tight, because it is like quite firm and quite tight. But I was worried it would like, yeah, that it would be a bit ripply or something, but it actually has, no, it turned out really nicely and it sits really well. And you then, after you've done that and seamed up the, that's not a good way to show, seamed up the sleeve and sides, you then pick up and knit the hem, and then you do the same thing around the neckline. So this smocking detail and this pattern was so fun to make. It was really, like, even if you had the chart, it has a chart, and I think it does have written instructions as well, but it was really easy to follow. I love kind of the gradient that they start with these bigger, more intense, and then they kind of space out. I think that design is just genius. I think it looks gorgeous. Really easy to do. The smocking technique that Alice has you do in the pattern, it's written in there, but you just like pick up a stitch and wrap it around. You're not having to take the stitches off the needle and wrap your yarn around a bunch of times. It's really easy and seamless to do. So it was really fun. The most tedious part of this pattern was the ribbing around the neckline and the bottom. I'm just gonna pop it back on because I am a bit cold. It's a 3x2 rib knit flat. So because it's knit flat, you'll have like, you're knitting on both sides. So one direction you're doing 3 knits and 2 purls, the other direction you're doing 3 purls and 2 knits. And I just could not get into the rhythm of it. I was listening to music in 5/4, just trying to count to 5, and it just never became rhythmic, or I never like just got into the swing of it. So it was a bit of a pain, and I kept like, I was like every row at least one stitch I had to drop back and flip it around, because I could never work out what I just like, if I stopped paying attention for 5 seconds I would do a wrong stitch. Luckily it's super easy to fix, so that's no big drama, but it was just annoying because I had to kind of like, I really like, I love it and I wanted it finished, but like doing this ribbing was, it's actually the first time I've had, I know there are some people who like, they just can't stand doing like twisted rib or 1x1 rib, or there's like certain stitch combination that they just hate doing, and I've never come across a stitch pattern that I've like disliked, I guess. But this 3x2 rib knit flat, is definitely a contender. But I mean, it's knitting, so it's still fun. It's like I absolutely despise doing it while I joyfully abandon all responsibilities to knit. But yeah, the pattern is designed with about 40 centimeters of positive ease, so it's kind of like wearing a blanket. And it stays on my shoulders better than I expected it to. There's no like fastening or anything. It's kind of robe style. But it does stay on my shoulders pretty well. I mean, if I'm hanging up the washing or like doing an activity, I probably wouldn't wear this to work because you would be like pulling it back onto your shoulders a little bit. But just for like wandering around, hanging out, like I wore it out last weekend. I'm going out to lunch today, so I'll wear it again out today. If you're not having to do like anything too strenuous, it stays on your shoulders really nicely. And yeah, I just don't have enough good things to say about this pattern. I'm obsessed and it's so comfy. And yeah, I don't know if I said this before, but I've like half blocked it. So I blocked the body before I seamed it together. So I did the 3 needle bind off and then I blocked it. And then I seamed it. I haven't blocked the ribbing yet because yeah, I wanted to get some wear out of it, and then I will give it a proper block before I put it away for the summer. But yeah, that's the Escala cardigan. You should make one. It's really great. That's the only finished object that I have, but I do have 2 half objects, hose. Yeah, they've got some socks. She knits socks. So sorry, that was a wig hair from a costume I wore to a party a couple of weeks ago that I just picked off that sock. Just insight into how I live. So let's talk about these socks first. So this is the yarn is Knit Picks Felici in the Palm Springs colorway. I was looking for something else on the Knit Picks website. There is a tiny bit of Palm Springs left. So this was one of their spring, I think, colorways or summer colorways, and they're now in the autumn, whatever. It's like last season or like 2 seasons ago. I've had it for a while, but I did see that there is low in stock, but there is some Palm Springs left in the shop, and it is so gorgeous. I love this colorway so much. This pretty like lilac-y purple from this like pale apricot. There's always that section in Felici and lots of colorways where there's those 2 stripes that look almost the same. They do look more different on camera than they do in real life, which is saying something. But yes, I just knit a regular, my personal way I like to knit my vanilla socks. Why did I do an air quote around that? So I did about 20 rounds, but it ended up being 3 color stripes of 2x2 rib, an I have partridge heel flap, regular gusset, round toe, and it's 64 stitches on a 2mm needle. I do knit the heel flap and the ribbing and the toe on magic loop, and the rest of it on a 9-inch circular needle. And yeah, the color really, like with these kind of socks, it's the yarn that's the fun part. So I'm obsessed with this colorway. I think it's so beautiful. And yes, so that's a sock for me. And the other sock I have, it's actually a gift knit. I might just polish my halo a little bit because I'm doing a gift knit. So my mum successfully has guilted me into gift knitting socks. So a little while ago she'd said, oh, you know, your auntie really likes hand knit socks and she gets so cold. Eleanor, you should knit her some socks. And I said, well, Mum, I'm not really knitting socks at the moment, just not feeling it. But you know, if, you know, down the line I feel like knitting socks, I'll definitely knit socks for her. Thinking that we would all forget that conversation. And then my mum saw me working on these socks and said, oh, who are those for? And when I said they're for me, she pulled out the mum gilts. Oh, I thought you were gonna knit socks for your auntie. So I'm knitting socks for my auntie because I am a certified good person. So this yarn that I'm using, I actually won in so I remember, because these are the details my brain will remember. It was the Kanga Kiwi knit along. Do you remember the Kanga Kiwi knit along? How fun was that? I don't even remember who used to run that, but some very organized person used to run the Kanga Kiwi knit along. in 2018. So this was early 2018, so it was before I had a podcast, and I won this lovely skein of yarn from Three Mums Yarns, who are some Australian yarn dyers. I checked, they are still, I thought they had closed down, but it was a different yarn dyer who had closed down. But so I will link the Three Mums Yarn shop down below because they do beautiful, beautiful hand dyed yarns. This colorway is called Rain Dance, and like I won it, so it's very lovely, but it's just not, they're not my colors, but they are beautiful. It's just amazing, like watercolory blues. It's like some little sections of pooling, but really like it's just a really, really gorgeous colorway, really well dyed. So if you like hand dyed yarn, you can grab some down there where I link the shop. And this is, I believe, like a 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. And yeah, it's really lovely. And the pattern that I'm using, because I don't have the stripes of a self-striping yarn to count my progress, I'm actually using a very highly modified version of the Socks on a Plane pattern by Laura Lindemann of the Knit Girls. How long have you been watching knitting YouTube? Do you remember this pattern? Do you remember? Yeah, that's a how old are you kind of thing. But yeah, it's a really great, it's a free pattern. I'll link it down below as well. But so it's just this 6-stitch cable that runs down the sock. It's really lovely, and it just makes it so much easier to count your rows when you just count the cables rather than having to count rows. I did convert it a little bit in that I'm knitting this cuff down. The pattern is originally written toe up, and so I'm just knitting it cuff down. I did about, as per usual, about 20 rounds of 2x2 rib at the top, heel flap and gusset, round toe, really lovely. And then I just, for the second sock, I'm just doing it like mirrored, and in the pattern it just gives you one cable chart, so it's always a left leaning cable, I think, in the pattern. But I'm reversing the direction, so on the other sock I'm doing so this is the right foot with a left leaning cable, so it kind of cables in, and then on the other sock, which will be for the left foot, it's a right leaning cable, so it will cable inwards just to make it mirrored. Most people wouldn't notice that. My auntie, who I'm making these for, is the kind of person who would notice that, so it's worthwhile doing it because I know she'll appreciate it. And I also found some other sock yarn in my stash. So once I've done these for my uncle, so my auntie's husband, I found some other sock yarn in my stash that I had bought a very long time ago with the intention of making socks for myself, but I haven't, and I've bought so much other sock yarn in the interim that clearly, like, I don't think that is meant for me, so I'll make some socks for my uncle in that colorway, using the same pattern, the Socks on a Plane. So yeah, that is kind of what I've been working on quite diligently. Like, these socks have, especially these ones, have gone really quickly. I think it's the Moorish nature of knitting the cable that makes it really fun. So yeah, highly recommend. It's just a free sock pattern. If you're looking for something to like jazz up your simple socks, like Socks on a Plane, dropped a sock blocker. Socks on a Plane, very popular for a reason. So yes, I do have one more project to show you. I have still been working on my black mohair dress, but it literally looks exactly the same as it did last time I showed you, except a bit longer. So I won't, sorry, there's a bug. I won't hold that up in front of you and expect you to spot the difference. I'll show you that once I'm closer to it looking like something. I have recently though cast on another garment because I got this off the needle and wanted something else to work on, and I'm obsessed with this project. So let's talk about the yarn first. So I've wanted to work with this yarn for the longest time. I finally got some last year and I'm absolutely thrilled with it, and it's so fun to work with. It's this beautiful, beautiful, how gorgeous is that skein? So this yarn is called Field of Dreams. It's a collaboration between Great Ocean Road Woolen Mill and the lovely ladies of the Pearl Box. So it's the Great Ocean Road Woolen Mill spins the yarn, and then the ladies at the Pearl Box dye it. It is, let me just read it. I'm pretty sure I can remember, but yeah. So it's 50% Polworth, 30% linen, 20% Suri. So it has, yeah, wool and alpaca and linen. And it is so gorgeous. This colorway is called Woodland. It's this beautiful, deep, foresty, mossy green. The linen doesn't really take the dye like the yarn, like the wool and the alpaca do. So it creates this beautiful, like really like visually interesting effect. And it's just it's so beautiful, and it feels gorgeous. Like it feels like wool. It's because of and Polworth is such a beautiful wool, but it has amazing drape from the alpaca and the linen. It's just an absolutely gorgeous yarn. I'm so glad that I'm finally working with it. It's a 8 ply, so DK weight, and yeah, it's just stunning. And I wanted to use this yarn to knit this pattern for the longest time, so I finally cast it on. I'm so happy. So the pattern is the Parsley Tank by the amazing Claire Mountain Manapon. It's from a collection that she did with the Fiber Company a few years ago now, a number of years ago, and it's been sitting in my queue ever since. But this yarn and whichever Fiber Company yarn she used was a similar like animal fiber, plant fiber blend kind of yarn, so it's a very similar effect. So this is just a bottom up tank top. So it doesn't really look like much at the moment. So you start with, it's got a split hem of twisted rib that I had to knit twice because I cast on the wrong size, because I don't make good decisions. I cast on the wrong size, it's fine. But so I did both of the, so you do the 2 hems and then you join them in the round. So I'd done the two and twisted rib, it's 1x1 twisted rib knit flat. I knit the 2 of those and then realized that I'd cast on a size too large. So I ripped them out and went and did them again. So I'm knitting the 3rd size on the recommended needles. So it's 3.5mm needle for the ribbing and then 4mm for the body. So I knit them again, join them in the round. And then we have this nice little like eyelet detail. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see that. There we go, you can kind of see it if I hold it like that. This little eyelet detail then above the ribbing. And then up the sides of the pattern, it has this really cool twisted stitch detail that kind of creates a faux cable. So it's just all with twisted stitches. You know I love a twisted stitch. And it creates this really pretty, just like bit of interest up the sides of the tank top. And then it's just a simple like crew neck tank top with a bit of ribbing around the neck and the armholes. And yeah, it's just a gorgeous pattern. I'm sure I've either put a picture on the screen or I'll link it down below so you can see how gorgeous this pattern is. It's really lovely. I did have to rip back a few rows because I can't read, and I read what I thought the pattern said. I was like, oh, that doesn't really make sense. It's not going to be lined up properly, but I'll just knit ahead. I'm sure it'll make sense. I'm looking at everyone else's projects on Ravelry because what I'm doing doesn't look right and what everyone else is doing seems to be different. I look at the pattern again and I just can't read numbers. But of course the pattern was wrong. I couldn't possibly be wrong. I was like, what's this pattern doing? The fact that it's a tech edited pattern from a designer who I know is incredibly detail oriented, who, yeah, I love and trust. I've knit a number of Claire's patterns before and they are great. So I don't know why I thought, oh, well, the pattern must be wrong. I should just do what I think we should do, which was deeply wrong. But my personal flaws are not the subject of this podcast. Claire's patterns are incredible. I've knit her Gauffre socks a number of times, and I've knit her the hay jumper, which was gorgeous as well. I own a whole bunch of her patterns because I usually don't buy patterns unless I'm actually imminently about to cast them on, but I love her patterns so much. I think I have the shorthand. I definitely have the shorthand sweater of hers and maybe some others in my pattern collection, and I love her patterns. She's on maternity leave at the moment, but a really great designer, and I love her stuff and I love her aesthetic, and yeah, I'm having the best time. I just love the detail. I can't stop looking. The detail of this like eyelets just above the hem is just so lovely. This is going to be a great like trans-seasonal tank top. Wear it over a blouse for work, just wear it casually. Cannot wait. Love it. And this yarn is an absolute dream to work with. It feels beautiful, it knits up so lovely, the color is just, it's just stunning. I love it. So yes, that's everything I'm currently working on at the moment. Leave me a comment below, let me know what you're knitting on at the moment. Do you have anything you're looking forward to casting on? I know here in the Southern Hemisphere, we're heading into summer. So do you have any fun summer knitting plans? And for everyone up north, are you excited for sweater weather, as they call it? So what are your new season knitting plans? I love this time of year. September is one of my favorite times of year. Like, it stops being cold and horrible and it starts being like sunny and fun and you want to leave the house again. I love this time of year. Coming into Halloween, my favorite season, my favorite holiday. So yeah, it's a great time of year. I hope you are all keeping safe and well and you are making lots of wonderful things. Let me know in the comments below what's on your needles at the moment. And yeah, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye guys.